What did a crush do that made you immediately lose interest? I was casually dating a 19-year-old guy when I was 18. He seemed totally normal until I met him at his house before a date and his mom asked him to take the garbage out before we left. He threw a fit that would embarrass most 3-year-olds, including crying, yelling at his mom, and punching the floor. I pretended that my parents were calling and needed me to come home, blocked his number, and never saw him again. I like to think that mom knew he'd do that and was trying to save you the trouble. He would ask me questions about myself, then cut me off in the middle of my answer to talk about himself. If you could have any superpower, what would it be? I think I'd like telekinesis because I have a friend like that. And my cousin does this often too. It's like they bring it up so they can talk about it, but don't realize that you can just say what you want to say instead of bait and switching with who gets to talk. I love them both dearly, but it's so annoying. Bragged about how she was leading on a few guys so she always had a backup. Fat yikes. Back in college I was seeing a girl casually. Whenever we'd text, she'd take hours to respond to any message. It wasn't a big deal, since most of the time it was just chatting or setting plans for the following weekend or something. It was a little annoying because it'd take a full day or two to set up plans because of the slow responses. But whatever. I'm a bad texter so I can't really judge someone for that. But I started to notice that when we hung out together, she'd immediately respond back to any and every text she got. She had some loud song as the ringtone that played for like 15 seconds. And set it so that her camera lid would flash constantly while it rang. Totally obnoxious and made me really notice how often she texted. I casually asked her who she was texting one time and it was just some friend from school that had sent her a meme. After that I realized it wasn't going to work. Being a slow texter is fine. Constantly texting while hanging out was annoying, but not a deal breaker, especially if we were just chilling at one of our houses. But the realization that this person who was glued to her phone but didn't feel like it was a priority to respond back to my texts made me feel unimportant, so I kinda just drifted away. We stayed friends because we shared the same group of friends and it wasn't awkward or anything. I just stopped trying to do things with just the two of us. Poured lemonade on my head in the middle of a fireworks show. She thought it was flirty and cute. Should have poured it on her and asked her if she thought it was cute. Met a woman. Thought she seemed cool. We went out to eat. She's telling me about how she fell on financial hard times and moved back in with her parents. The way she described it just sounded like she got unlucky. Not that she did anything irresponsible. It happens. When the bill came I told her I'd pay. She said, "Thanks. I appreciate that. I'm trying to save my money right now." Me, sure. I understand. You want to get your own place again? Huh, no. Actually I mean I'm trying to save up $500 for a tattoo I want to get. I've got nothing against spending money on tattoos. But when you've just spent a first date talking about the financial troubles you have, maybe now's the time to start putting money away for necessities, not tattoos. Went on a date with the man. They didn't ask me anything about myself. It was completely one-sided, like a job interview or something. I'm a guy, by the way. She told me her future plans to essentially become a gold digger like her mother. When I laughed it off, she couldn't see what I thought was so funny. Step 1. Maybe don't confront the guy with it like that. We were driving down the road and she threw a Starbucks cup right out the window. Gross. Litter should be turned into goddamn trees. Said she would turn up on a date, then flaked. Told me she had been called into work urgently. I said okay, that's cool. Second time she flaked again, said that she had to tutor someone. Which made no sense because would you not have that planned? I went on 2 dates with a girl when I was in college. She was wonderful but immediately wanted to be official and started drafting Instagram posts about us. She wanted to spend every day together and have sleepovers every night. It was so out of nowhere and we literally knew nothing about one another. I tried to look past it but she asked me to be her first and I got uncomfortable. She seemed naive and I didn't want to take advantage. I suggested we take things slow and she took offense. I cut things off and her reaction was super childish. All of this in a 3-week period. Sweet girl, but the pacing was off. He talked about how he wanted to loosen up some boring family at a wedding reception. So he spiked their drinks. Speaking as a boring person. That's terrifying that someone would do that. Ask me to be their wingman because they had a crush on my best friend. Crush comes to my house. I explain how I'm slowly remodeling it and my plans for my house. She then starts telling me I shouldn't and I should do it her way. And let her take it over and let her design, decorate, and do it all. The hell I will. My father actually leaves his house totally undecorated when he's between wives' girlfriends and lets whoever he is dating decorate it however they want. He should get with your crush. A woman I was talking to was recently divorced and had moved back in with her parents. She already had a child and a couple pets and was talking about getting another pet and her parents told her no. She chose to go ahead and get another pet anyhow and basically her parents began pushing her out the door. And it was a stressful situation for her and I suggested she talk to her folks. However, once she told me she was grown and made her own decisions and did not care about their rules, I suddenly understood and quickly lost interest. He started dating one of my friends after I told her that I had a crush on him. She tried hooking up with every guy she knew I had a crush on. I felt like I couldn't like anyone. Not much of a friend. There? You should have picked a guy you absolutely thought was disgusting and then tell her you had a crush on him, lol. I had a crush on a guy in high school who was a little bit of a rebel. Nothing serious but definitely had a bad boy thing going on. One day in class the teacher told him to do something minor and he flipped out. Basically had a temper tantrum and refused. Totally killed all interest by being an a-hole for no reason. Yeah, sometimes the types who yell FCK the system can be funny from afar. Until they pitch a fit over something minor. I watched a pretty charismatic guy I thought was just BSing around nearly get kicked out of all state choir because he refused to wear his high school's concert attire. He showed up in formal wear and brought the clothes from his school, but didn't change into them until the last minute just so he could make a scene about how he was sticking it to the man. I wasn't super into him, but he'd been pretty cute and his shtick had been almost endearing at first. After that I wanted nothing to do with him. And I think a lot of people who had just met him there felt the same way. No one really stood up for him during the whole debacle. She generalized everyone. She was also such a B to everyone that she didn't understand. He plays video games? Wow, when do you think he'll move out of his mother's basement? Wow, she wears so much makeup, can you imagine what she's hiding under that face? Just such a mean-spirited person and it completely turned me off. Ugh. I had a friend like that. Extremely judgmental. She always said, "What? I'm blunt, you know that." But God forbid anyone was ever blunt with her. I eventually stopped talking to her. This is the same friend that told me my anxiety and depression were all in my head and I could make it go away if I really wanted to. Ironically, a few years later she started having panic attacks and meltdowns and had to take the same meds she told me I didn't need. Co-worker at work had just a beautiful energy. Absolutely lovely to be around. Always smiling at everyone. And she would laugh at my jokes. And she made some comments from time to time that made me feel validated and understood, which was very flattering, like she guessed my passions in life and told them to me. With a big smile while looking me in the eyes. And I'm a reserved guy who doesn't share that stuff. All just very lovely. One day we're in the break room and she's talking to another guy the same way and I'm consciously talking myself out of being jealous. You're not dating or anything, you don't even have her cell phone number. She's allowed to be lovely with other people now, come on, no reason to be jealous. Then when the guy leaves she turns to the girl next to her and says, "God, I hate that guy." And I had just been jealous that she was treating him exactly like she treats me. I still feel foolish when I think about it. Like, does she like me or hate me? I had a co-worker like that. I wasn't interested in her, but she became what I thought was a very good friend. A year or so later and she'd found a way to one-up me with the boss and the mask came off. All after I trusted her. Had drinks at her place with her fiance and dog. etc. Then I watched her do this exact same thing to every new person using the same stories and tactics. Narcissism is no joke. We were eating dinner out and he was rude to the server. Told him we were pretty close friends. It would be nice to add a please or thank you. He said, why should I? She's a waitress, implying he feels superior and I pay her to do her job. Instant turn off and didn't really want to hang out with him even as friends after the incident. We would be great in person. Both of us would have a laugh and genuinely had an amazing connection. But trying to get a text back takes days. It's really difficult to arrange to spend more time together when she barely replies to me. I massively lost interest after this. Kick the dog. Instantly lost all attraction. John Wick wants to know your location. He would steal people's tips off the bar counter when we were at a bar together with friends. Then he would offer to buy me food with it. No thank you. I was once with a girl, back in the 1980s, who told me how she made money going to the bar. Because all these other people went home and just left all this money sitting on the bar. So she scooped it up. She sounded very smug and proud of herself. Bartender here. I'm confident these people will burn in whatever hell awaits. Also, if you're at a bar with a bouncer, this is an easy way to get your face stinged off the door frame as you're escorted out and told never to come back. He snapped his fingers at a waitress. Then as I looked mortified, he whistled. People do anything other than look around nervously and hope the waiter comes around eventually. I was having a party and the drinks were flowing. Went to check on her cause she had disappeared for a while. As I opened the door, I see her sitting on a small waste basket taking a shit in my bedroom. I couldn't get that picture out of my head. I know I've done my fair share of dumb stuff, but still couldn't forget it. The trash can in my room is one of those mesh ones. That's how I first imagined this. I had a harmless crush on a married friend that I did not signal or act on. Ever. I've been the spurned wife before. I kept my distance and did everything short or unfriending him on Facebook. He slid on into my DMs right after my separation became public knowledge. He was still married to his wife. I didn't respond. They are divorced now. She's a really lovely person and deserves so much better. Got so drunk at a party that she shat herself. The smell is really what did it. A guy who was a straight up doppelganger for Bradley Cooper had a massive crush on me. He was funny, smart, educated and accomplished. I could never get over how I had, on 2 separate occasions, seen him piss himself drunk. Not a crush but an ex. Jiggled the door handle while I was taking a shit and then got angry that I wouldn't let her in. Why can't I come in? Are you not comfortable with me or something? We're dating. It had been 3 days. I'd be upset if my BF locked themselves in the bathroom for 3 days. Played hard to get. No thanks. If you're gonna ghost me for days at a time and then get pissed off when I don't respond in 0.5 seconds, then that's not my problem. Shows how hard to get can easily turn into hard to want. If you're out of high school, you're too old to be playing that hard to get GBH. Get that all the time on Bumble, Tinder. It's one thing to be busy and not respond to messages, but outright ghosting signals that you're not interested. Then if they get mad, I just say, what were you expecting? If you don't play, you can't potentially win. Made fun of my smile. This and making fun of somebody's laugh are 2 of the most effed up things that a person can do. It serves no purpose except to make someone feel self-conscious every time they are enjoying themselves. Guy was academic, hygienic, and sweet. Treated waitstaff appropriately. Spoke formally but still funny. Shared things in common with me. Perfect gentleman. Date ended 10/10. While driving me home. At a stoplight. Pointed to a homeless man crossing the street. Said I would stop my car for anybody crossing the street. Just not homeless men. Where do they have to be? They're in no hurry. Me thinking, okay, unsolicited and kinda odd. He added another comment, it'd be funny if I run him over. Me ghosted him like right after he dropped me off.